Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the world's greatest Bronze Age comic book podcast, Flea Market Fantasy. I'm your co-host, Mike L., and as always, I'm joined by
Michael Dell of the LCS Hockey Radio Show.
That's right. And this week, you went what's the word here? You used the wild card, they say, right?
A little obscure. Obscure because Mike L., a few weeks ago, I loved Ms. Tree.
Right.
Remember that?
Of course.
And so that was like the independent route. So I figured, all right, let's dip back in there. And we're going to go from Eclipse Comics, 1983, DNAgents, issue 1, by Mark Evanier and Will Meugniot. Yeah, this Mark Evanier we know because he was a collaborator with Sergio Aragonés on Gru. He wrote Gru.
Forgot about that. Yeah.
You really forgot about that?
Yeah, I did. No, I mean, I forgot he wrote it. Totally forgot.
Yeah. That's where we encountered him the first time here on this show, and that's when I learned how to pronounce his name. And then the artist, Mike L., his name, if I can spell the name for you, let's see. Last name is Meugniot. Yet it's Meugniot.
Yes. Meugniot.
That is a wild stuff.
Now, is that Italian or is that French? Do you know?
I'm guessing French, maybe.
Hey, I should know that.
I don't know. But anyway, it's a weird way to pronounce it. But I guess Meugniot, this fella, are you familiar with his work at all?
I don't think I've ever really heard of him.
He has 6 credits at Marvel, like just one-shot deals for different books. And then he was very popular in like daytime Saturday morning cartoons and whatnot. Really? He was a storyboard artist. Let's listen to some of these credits here, Michael.
Okay.
Batman, the animated series.
I've heard of that.
Yep. Bob the Builder. He was a director on that. Bucky O'Hare and the Toad Wars. He's a storyboard director there.
Wow.
But he was a storyboard artist, supervising producer, supervising director of Captain Planet and the Planeteers. Whoa,
that's digging deep.
Yeah. What else? But he's got a ton. Denver the Last Dinosaur, Earthworm Jim. He was a producer and storyboard artist. G.I. Joe, Real American Hero.
Oh, one of my favorites.
G.I. Joe, Valor vs. Venom.
Okay.
Gem. He was a producer and storyboard artist for
there
Gem.
You go.
Johnny's Golden Quest, Johnny Quest versus the Cyber Insects. Yeah, so he did a ton of shit. Oh, Pride of the X-Men. He was the producer of that. Do you remember that cartoon?
Of course. Awesome. Of course, I have it on tape. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Real Ghostbusters. RoboCop, the animated series. Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. He was a storyboard artist.
Oh, the crown. What is it? The crown jewel. There you go.
Yeah. So this guy did everything. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Good Lord. So yeah, that's what he was doing. He was doing the animated cartoons. But he went into comic books here with his buddy Mark Evanier.
Wow.
To create DNAgents.
Yes.
1983. And Mike, this is Eclipse Comics. And Ms. Tree, my beloved Ms. Tree, did go to Eclipse there for a brief bit. But Eclipse was a independent comic book publisher, right?
Yeah. They did. They published Miracle Man, Zot, right. Some other ones. Yep.
And I think they started in 1977, and in 1978 they released the first ever graphic novel, Saber, by Don McGregor and Paul Gulacy.
Oh, really? See, because there's some debate about what's officially the first graphic novel. Some say it's Silver Surfer by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Some say
Saber beat it, I think.
What's that Gil Kane one? Didn't we talk about that Gil Kane one?
I can't
His
remember.
His name is Savage? Anyway.
Yeah, it's something like that, yeah. But this Saber then had I think a 12-issue run on an ongoing series at Eclipse. But that was like a sci-fi swashbuckler situation, Saber.
Okay.
So this DNAgents, this is Eclipse's first time doing a superhero book. Costume superhero comic book.
Wow, okay.
Because until then they were doing detective stuff and
sure.
Kind of thing. So this was the first. Can you think of any other big Eclipse comic books?
Well, I mean,
Miracle Man you mentioned. Yeah.
Besides the ones I mentioned, the ones I mentioned are pretty big.
What was the Jim Starlin one? Didn't he have one?
Well, he did. What's it called? Dreadstar, but was that ever
Yeah.
Eclipse?
Yeah, you're right. That was something else, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking it was Eclipse. Yeah, that wasn't Eclipse. All right. So there it is. What now, Michael? Do you have any experience with DNAgents?
I might have read one issue. That's about it. Like 20 years ago or something.
Well, I remember when I was a kid, I saw the DNAgents, and people were saying, "Oh, they're the next X-Men. They're like better than the X-Men." And I was like, "Ah, screw you." And
Right.
I was very upset when I heard that.
Oh yeah, you were upset. You took it personally.
I was outraged. Yeah. Because when this came out in like '83, where would the X-Men have been at that point?
Oh, they were
the 170s, maybe.
Yeah, around there. Yeah, like around the time Paul Smith was on board, which is like
So they were at
X-Men. Yeah,
peak X-Men. Yeah, so that's kind of nonsense to compare. But because they were so popular, everyone else was trying to rip them off. Right. So Mark Evanier and Will Meugniot came up with the DNAgents to do just that. And DC and Marvel both were interested in publishing the series, but the creators here, they said, "Hey, you know what? We have some ties in with the Saturday morning cartoons and whatnot. We think we're going to be able to sell this, so we want to retain the media rights."
Right.
So they did not go with DC or Marvel. So their agent at the time was, I think it was Mike Friedrich, the old writer guy, wasn't he?
Really? From what was it, Ghost Rider?
Yeah, I think it's the same Mike Friedrich. So he pitched it to a couple other comic book companies. Everyone wanted to publish it, but they decided to go with Eclipse because they gave them more creator rights and whatnot,
Sure.
freedom to do whatever they wanted.
Great.
So that's why they signed up with Eclipse.
Huh.
Yeah, here.
Well, good for them, but unfortunately, it never did make it to TV, did it?
No, it did not. They did sell the rights, I guess, for like an animated, or like not the rights, but they made a deal for like what's the word I'm looking for? A treatment or whatever for an animated series, I guess, or maybe a live action. I think it was a live action series, but it never got made.
That's too bad.
So, like we said, the series started in 1983 and it ran for 24 issues, I believe. Yes, 24 issues from 83 to July of 1985. And then in October of 85, it started as like a new volume. It was called New DNAgents.
Okay.
And that ran for 17 issues before it ended. And the reason they did that, what was the price on this cover here, Michael?
This was $150.
Yes. So what they did was when that 24 issue run ended, they cut the price in half to 75 cents. And they started producing it on a cheaper paper and stuff,
Okay.
So they try to go back old school. So that's why they rebranded it as New DNAgents.
Well, I got to step in for a second here. I believe you're mispronouncing the title. It's not DNAgents. It's
yeah. Right there, I did mispronounce it right there.
Okay,
It's just DNAgents.
Right.
DNAgents.
Just like Batman had the KG Beast.
Yes.
NKV Demon.
Yeah.
Anyway.
A does double duty in the DNA and in agents.
Yes.
So, DNAgents. So it's a 5-member team of like they're not humans, Michael. And they're not mutants. They were created in a lab.
Right.
These individuals by a giant corporation named the Matrix Corporation.
We've heard that before, eh?
Yeah, Keanu Reeves ripped them off.
Exactly. Keanu Reeves, who wrote The Matrix, right?
Oh, you're telling me he didn't? Come on, he's a Renaissance man, this Keanu Reeves.
Actors make up their lines on the spot. Anyway.
But, well, I could tell you a story about a movie he did that in called Knock Knock.
Oh, really?
It's a very famous scene. We reviewed it on the LCS Hockey Radio Show. There's a very famous, stupid scene where Keanu Reeves improvised this speech, and it's kind of known as the free pizza speech, and it's terrible.
Really? Okay, I'll have to look this up later. Okay.
But anyway, I digress. So here we go back to DNAgents. 5 genetically created individuals. They were made in a lab, like test tube babies, and boom, they're basically 5 years old.
Okay.
In essence, did you read that thing at the end of the book, Mark?
I skimmed it.
Yeah, he was talking about 5 years. How 5 years is a big deal. Like when you turn 5, that's basically when your life begins, because you have trouble remembering anything before then.
Right.
So these DNAgent people, they were created in a lab, and they were like monitored and grown and evolved or whatever for 5 years.
Sure.
And they were programmed, like their brains were wired up with all kind of like they just pumped in all the information you need to live. You know what I mean? So they could speak English and everything.
Sure.
And they knew what the world was, but they never actually went out in the world. But they were basically 5 years old. So Mark Evanier saw them as like children going out and experiencing life, that kind of thing.
Now, have you ever come across the comic book called John Byrne's Next Men?
I've heard of it. I've never read it.
Okay, because it's DNAgents, just with a different name.
And that came after DNAgents.
Oh yeah, like 10 years later. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So the 5 main characters here, we have a big fella named Tank.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like the gentle giant with super strength, and he wears an armored weapon suit. Tank.
Mm-hmm. Good name.
Weren't you called that back in school?
Absolutely, as you can see by my profile pic.
Then we have Surge. He's an impulsive, arrogant hothead who can control and generate electricity. So you always got to have one of them, one of the hotheads.
Uh-huh.
Then we have Amber. She's a lady, and she can manipulate magnetic energy to create shields or energy blasts.
Cool.
And she can also fly. She's very outgoing, social, and curious.
Are we going to talk about the costumes?
Yeah, we'll get to them.
Okay.
I'm just reading down the Wikipedia page right now. Don't interrupt me.
Oh, concentration.
But I think Amber's kind of like Tank is kind of like college. Even though they're all like 5 years old, they look like adults, you know. Except Amber's probably like a younger, like 17 or something.
Okay.
And Tank looks to be like 20 something.
Okay, yeah, because at the end they do say the two of them are not college age, right?
Yeah.
Don't seem college age, yeah.
Yeah, Amber's like 16, 17. Then we have Rainbow, who is super foxy, and she's a telepath who can create and manipulate illusions. And here's another note here on her Wikipedia. She dabbled in nude modeling.
Whoa.
It's always a nice detail to have when you're a superhero.
Did they explore this storyline in the comic?
Well, I don't know. But all these issues of DNAgents, you can get them pretty cheap, except for issue 24, because issue 24 has a cover drawn by Dave Stevens.
Oh, from Rocketeer, right.
Yeah, and I guess he's a very famous illustrator. He did create the Rocketeer. Right. And the cover features Rainbow and like a cheesecake pinup kind of situation.
Jeez, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that cover cost you about $20-$30 just to get that book.
Very realistic, we'll say.
Yeah. And then finally we have Sham. He's the youngster of the team. He looks like he's about 12 or something. 13.
Okay, yep. He's the guy riding on Tank on the cover, right?
Yeah, and he's a shapeshifter, an infiltration agent. He's also very shy.
Okay.
Awkward.
Yep, and unsure of himself.
Yes. So there you go. There are your team members. Tank, Surge, Amber, Rainbow, and Sham. Sham.
Yeah, the names are okay. Not great.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right.
they're short. We'll leave it at that.
All right, let's look at the cover here. Unless there's any other background info you wanted to give about.
No, I don't think so.
Covered it.
So yeah, we'll talk about the cover, and then we'll talk about the costumes that are on the cover. So we got the awesome Eclipse Comics logo here, one of my favorites, on the left.
Well, describe it for the kids, Mike.
Well, there you go, because this is not a visual podcast, so I have to. So Eclipse Comics, and then we have a circle, and inside the circle, it's like we have a black, circle in front of the orangish yellow circle, as in like an eclipse, and then kind of, I guess, in front of that or behind it is a star symbol. It's kind of not a star, but like, what would you call that?
Yeah, it's like the basically the same thing on the Steelers helmet, the Pittsburgh Steelers helmet.
There you go.
I forget what they call it.
I know
what
exactly
they call those things.
Yep.
But it's a little spark. You don't even know what the Pittsburgh Steelers look like.
Not at all. But that symbol was used for almost. It looks like Starbrand, right, from Marvel.
It's also kind of like in the old Star Wars posters where Luke Skywalker would be holding up a lightsaber. You'd have this kind of like imagery at the tip of the lightsaber.
Yeah, it's kind of like yeah, it's kind of just like it's not a star, but it's a cartoonist representation of a star shining kind of thing. You know what I mean? Anyway, then on the right we have the price, which has like kind of a similar logo with the 1 in it. I actually think it's a really nice design to have the price on one side and the logo on the other, the company logo on the other. Anyway, above the title we have "Science made them, but no man owns." And then we have ... and then we have the logo, the DNAgents. It's a pretty good logo, pretty good font. Okay.
I'm still trying to remember what the Steeler things are called.
Okay. Well, you're doing that.
No, that's all right. I'm back. All right, I'm back. I gave up.
So we have the DNAgents running towards the camera, kind of. Tank is in the middle, and he's actually kind of looking off to the side, and it almost looks like he's about to like throw. He's holding like what is that? I don't even know what that is. Some kind of weapon?
Sex toy.
Yeah, I was going to say it looks like a dildo, but he's holding it.
Kind of like a grenade, maybe?
Yeah, maybe a grenade or something. And we should also point out, well, actually, I'll get to that in a minute, but so his costume is pretty cool. It's like he has like a helmet with like a blue helmet with orange goggles, and then blue armor plates kind of covering his chest and like the side of his arms, and they're held on by straps. And then underneath that, he has like a green scaly costume. So his basic color scheme is blue and green with orange goggles. So it's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah, I guess the green, is this supposed to be like chainmail maybe?
Yeah, like chainmail, yeah. Like Captain America. And then riding on his shoulders is like a tiny, what's his name again? Sham, who's shooting like a machine gun. Sham looks like a little kid, but he has like gray hair, but he's like tiny compared to Tank. Like,
he's very skinny.
Less than half the size, yeah.
Almost like a little monkey.
Right.
And he's got gray hair.
Yes, very odd. Very odd. And then on the extreme left, we have, what's this guy's name again?
Surge.
He's running, and he has like kind of like electrical, fiery plasma things like kind of coming out of his hands a little bit with like little stars in them. And he's got like blue pants, kind of red and gray boots, and then a red and gray shirt with a big open like V-neck and like a butterfly collar. And then again, he also has orange goggles. I didn't really notice that, but he has them too. And he has like yellow and red gloves, and that's pretty much it. Oh, and he's also got like a cool belt with like things hanging off of it. Kind of cool. Notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I like it. And then in the back we have, that's Amber, right?
Yes, in the back is Amber.
So Amber is somewhat scantily clad. Well, not really, but she has like a bare midriff and bare thighs. And she has like a yellow costume with orange, like big, not like polka dots, but almost like Thor, those big circles that Thor has, but more of them. She has them on her chest and her shorts and her, what are those called? Those kind of boots? Not go-go boots, but like...
Yeah, I call them go-go boots.
Okay, go-go boots. Huge go-go boots. And she has like a top that's almost like a Daisy Duke type of thing, where it's like loose fitting, and it has like a little what is that called? Not a sash, but like
kerchief.
Yeah, kerchief, kind of tied around her neck, and she has like a sort of like not pigtails, but I'm losing my words here. What are those called? It's kind of like a double ponytail coming up from.
Well, I would call them pigtails.
Okay, so she kind of looks like a country girl, right? Like from down south, kind of. That kind of look. And then the girl on the right, what's her name again?
Rainbow.
So she's running towards us, and she's holding her hands up, and she has like energy, like circles around her hands, and I guess it's supposed to be a rainbow, but it's colored red and blue and orange, so it's kind of lazy. Like maybe it's meant to be the full rainbow, but it's not. And her costume is kind of blue, yellow, purple, and blue. Yeah, sorry, that's it. And she has one of my favorite pieces of clothing, and that's a headband. And then she has and then her shirt is also showing her midriff, and just like the other girl, she has go-go boots, and we can see her thighs. But her like underwear are a little bit more scantily, sized than the other girls.
Yeah, Amber's wearing like shorts, actual shorts, and
right.
Rainbow is wearing like a one-piece one-piece bathing suit.
Right.
And she also has like rainbow-colored hair.
Right. Yes, that's true. And and they're all running towards us, and behind them is kind of like this big explosion of smoke, and there's all this like they're all getting shot at by gunfire, and there's like explosions in the air. It's a pretty cool cover.
Yeah. And we mentioned Rainbow. She's a telepath who can cause people to see things and manipulate. Isn't that also what the Mirage and the New Mutants?
Yes, which came out around the exact same time, I think, right? 83?
Yeah, this is 83. I think New Mutants was 82, right?
Oh, could be, yeah.
Either way, it's around the same.
Interesting, yeah.
So then, do you like the cover there, Michael?
Yeah, I think it's the one thing I like about it is it is good. It's dynamic, but it doesn't look. It looks just different enough from Marvel and DC that it stands out. You know.
Yeah, the art's not the best. I think Tank looks good.
Right.
Everyone else is kind of like rushed.
Right. Yeah, like they're not perfect. Their anatomy's not perfect.
Yeah. We'll notice that going through this book that the art's a bit inconsistent. There'll be some really good looking stuff, particularly when Will Meugniot's drawing, I think, Rainbow, and does her well. But I don't know. Other times it's like, it looks like an independent comic book.
Right. Exactly. There we go. We can crack this sucker open now. So we get a little text page from Mark Evanier. And then another little thing from Jan and Dean Mulaney. Who are they?
They're the brothers that owned Eclipse. They started Eclipse.
Very cool.
Even though one is named Jan, that's a dude. And one of them is the publisher, and one of them is like the editor-in-chief.
Just like Jan and Dean, the duo, the surf duo from the 60s.
Oh, all right, sure.
Yeah.
I'll take your word for it.
Yep. Anyway, okay, so then we open up the book. I like this opening. We open up with, this is, which character again? Is this Rainbow? No, yes.
No, the first one? I think we're seeing...
I think it's the point of view of Rainbow, because she's a telepath, right?
No, it's not Rainbow. It's a dude.
Oh, so this is Sham then?
Yeah, I think it's Sham. Even though he looks kind of thick in the neck and stuff. But
So he's floating in this, tank that he's being grown in, and he's connected to all these cables. And he's like narrating. He's like thinking. He's thinking.
Yeah, he's thinking. The stuff in the yellow bubbles are like the voice, the loudspeaker. They just keep saying over and over while they're in these water tubes floating around. They just keep programming them like, oh, you work for Matrix. The Matrix Corporation loved you. All this kind of stuff. Right.
And then we see like a vision of the DNAgents in their costumes running. It's almost like the cover, but a little bit different. And then we cut to the next page, and he's still floating around. And we go through each member of the team, right? And we see them like, I'm not afraid, part of a family, more than human, trust Matrix. So they all have their own individual thoughts out there. Someone's watching us. And I think this is Rainbow. We see her hands like looking through her hair at two scientists looking at her, right?
Yes, those are a lady's hands, so yeah.
Yeah, and then we cut to the next page, and we see the Associated Press reports that the daughter of billionaire industrialist Lucius Krell has been kidnapped from her estate in Acapulco. Kind of like Acapulco Delight, my favorite restaurant.
That's right.
Yeah, and so Lucius Krell is doing a press conference, and he's like, I have just spoken to my daughter. She's safe and sound, and the reports of her being kidnapped are a complete hoax. So this is already where I got confused. Okay, page 3, because he says her daughter was kidnapped, then he says that it was a hoax.
Yes.
So then I'm like, okay.
Well, if you read Michael, they explain it why.
Okay.
He doesn't want to get out in the media that his daughter's kidnapped, because then he'd have to tell them what the ransom is, and the group that's holding them for ransom, they want some Japanese satellite technology thing that this fella stole.
Yes.
So if the news gets out there that she was kidnapped and that's what the ransom is, then everyone will know that he's responsible for stealing that thing. So he can't have that. So he just gets out to the media and says, "Oh no, she's fine. She's not kidnapped. She's fine. Don't worry about it."
But at the end, there's a twist that we won't talk about yet, right?
Yeah, but behind the scenes, once he's away from the media, he's very distraught about his daughter, that she is kidnapped, and they have to get her back.
Right.
And they don't want to trade the ransom. They don't want to give up that technology they stole. So he says, hey, you know what we should do? It's time to crack open them DNAgents.
Right.
To get her back.
Yes. So we get some. We'll kind of talk about the art as we go through. The art is very, I guess, for lack of a better term, busy, and in a way, I kind of like that. Like we see, two guys. What are they in there? I don't even know what they're in. They're in some kind of box doohickey thing with controls on it. And we see like other scientists in the foreground and the background. And then we see the guy walking down the stairs and there's like a guy down below. It's really cool. I like it.
Yeah, the guy down below is the like lead scientist who created DNAgents.
Right. Very cool. And so we get to the next page and we get a nice double page spread of these three guys looking at the DNAgents, and we can see that they're all floating and they're completely naked in these like tanks that they've been grown in, right? And they all have conveniently placed bubbles and hair covering up their, private areas, we'll call them. And we see DNAgents. We see the title of the story is Born Orphans. And they're like, amazing, absolutely amazing. How many times have they been out of there? Well, he's got about 5 hours. I've made all the arrangements to get them to Mexico where my daughter's being held. So yeah, they're going to break them open. And they introduce them as they're coming out of the tanks, I guess. And we see them all. This is actually really good art. This is better than the cover. We see like nice poses for each of them. Surge, Amber, Tank, Rainbow. And then Sham is like too shy to stand like kind of under this light. So he like runs away and then he comes back, right? But I actually like this art better.
Rainbow shoves him back.
Yes. Yeah, this page is actually really good. I like it. And then we see this Kirby-esque character, the guy with the beard at the top. It totally looks like a Jack Kirby character to me.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And so they're all kind of standing around, and the scientist is kind of talking to them. She's like, "You're our first special powered creations. 8 years ago, we performed the life formation process. We created a normal being we call Proto-1. Mr. Corral ordered us to begin immediately on U5." So they're kind of finding out exactly what they are, right? But they're acting pretty much like normal people. And like the one guy, Sham, is like really cocky. He's like, overconfident, us, no way. And he like leans on like this screen and ends up destroying it and like falling through it. He's like, oops. And we see him like laying in all the wreckage kind of thing. So, there's some humor there.
Because he had his energy on.
Right.
As Rainbow says.
Right.
Your energy on. Better not lean on that thing. But he did, and he blows it up.
Right. So then they walk out, and now they're at the airport, and they're just walking around, and they're dressed in normal street clothes. But as they're walking, what are these guys called? Hare Krishnas?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah. So like one of them is trying to recruit Amber, and Rainbow, right, gets pissed off. And so she uses her power to create an illusion to scare this guy. And it basically looks like a green, kind of like a genie, kind of like a monster genie, right?
Yeah. But here we're getting some characterization of that Amber's all naive and trusting. Right. And Rainbow's kind of like the big sister here taking care of her.
Right. And then we see someone who's actually spying on them, following them, right?
Yeah, someone in the airport's keeping an eye on him. Right.
So in the foreground, we see him. He's like, "That's them." We see him right in the foreground. And then on the next page, we cut back to the board of directors at the Matrix building, right?
Yes.
And they're like talking about what's going on. And what's his name? Krell is like, "This is my daughter's life on the line. You don't want me to pay the ransom, do you? You hired me to run this corporation. Let me run it, or fire me and pay off my contract. I'm going back to my office to work."
Yeah, they're mad at him for they wanted everything to be authorized by the board, but he just went ahead and released the DNAgents on his own. So they're mad at him. But he says, "Hey, I'm the chairman of this board or whatever, and here he runs the company, and he's got 2-year contract." So he's like, "Suck it, nerds!" And he's out.
So now we cut to the next scene, and now they're already in Acapulco, right? And they're just walking around with the uniforms on.
Yep.
And sure enough, see, this is the thing is, the art is clear, but if I didn't read the text, it would not be obvious what's going on. Because it would have been nice to see a shot of them maybe in the plane or landing or something, right?
Yeah.
Would have been nice. But anyway. So all of a sudden, they're confronted by bad guys, right? And they're getting shot at.
Allegedly.
Yeah, yeah. And then, but it's funny because even though they're only 5 years old, and they've already got all this programming, like Code 7, we're under attack. So they know exactly what to do, right? So they're being attacked, and they all run away, and then they're kind of like backed into this corner, and then they're using all their powers, like what's his name? Sham is shooting his energy.
Surge. Surge is shooting energy.
Surge is
Sham's the little fella.
Yeah, that's right.
Rainbow's trying to use her mental powers on them, but for some reason, it's not working.
Right. And then, what's his name? Tank rips a big chunk of a wall off and uses it as like a shield on his back to protect them all, right?
Yep.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we see the thoughts of one of the bad guys, and they're like, I've got to find a way to let them get away, but make it look convincing. So right away we know that something's going on, right?
Yeah, there's some shenanigans going on.
Exactly. And then what's her name? Rainbow's like, I don't know how they're blocking my projections, but you can't block this. And it looks like she kicks him in the jaw with her foot, right? Her heel.
Yep.
And then we see the thoughts of one of the other guys. He's riding this like kind of like sky cycle scooter thing. And he's like, this is the third time I could have wasted that one. He leaves his rear unguarded. He's all attack, no planning. So
yeah, he's talking about Surge, by the way.
Right. And then we see a woman who like a bad guy, and she's like, another soldier lines Surge up in her crosshairs and mentally destroys him, but she doesn't fire. Those were not her orders. So she could have killed Surge, but she doesn't, right?
And then Surge takes her out with a lightning bolt.
Right. So then yeah, they're still fighting, and then what's her name? Yeah, like the perspective is weird. On like, look, there's a shot here where Amber's flying and Sham is next to her, but he looks like 1 inch tall, right? Like it's just a weird shot. It's hard to tell if he's far away or just really small.
He's far away, but yeah, it looks weird.
Yeah, and then he kind of falls.
He tries, like she jumps down and she can fly because she's got those gravity or magnetic powers or whatever. So she's kind of like flying down, but he tries to fly, but he just falls and hits the ground because he's a goofball. And
right.
Because one of the bad guys, they're just going to kill Surge anyway. Like this was a different bad guy, and he knew that what their program, like what they were hired to do. Right. He's like, it's all right. I'm sick of this guy. I'm going to shoot him anyway. But Amber jumps in and saves the day. Right.
So then, yeah. So she like punches him or punches his gun. And then Tank's still getting shot at, and then we see like one of the bad guys reporting back, and he's like, "All agents, mission accomplished. Withdraw. Repeat. Withdraw." Right? And so then they all basically leave, and then the DNAgents or what's his name, Surge is like, "Quitters, too much for you. Where are we?" They're all running away, right? And then it turns out they've actually captured one of the bad guys, and he's like, my honor is my silence. Torture me all you want. I say nothing. So then, what's her name? Rainbow uses her power. Yeah, she tries to use her power, right?
Yes.
And she, so what does she do here? Oh, she tries to access a Matrix relay satellite.
Yeah, she links up the satellite to contact the Matrix headquarters and give them an update on what's been happening. And when they find out that DNAgents have already been attacked, they start freaking out. And they're like, "Oh no, what are we gonna do? It's they're delaying them too much. We got to give them the ransom. We just got to trade off the ransom."
Right. And I love how it prints out on actual paper, right? And the scientist is like holding up big sheets of paper. That's cool. And by the way, this guy here, he kind of looks like Charles Bronson. I don't know if that's who he's supposed to be, but
I don't. Yeah, that picture he does. Yeah, that picture he does. But I don't think he's supposed to be.
Okay. So then, look at all this dialogue. And then, what's his name?
Michael doesn't read comic books.
I just like look at the pictures.
But the whole premise here is all this dialogue is just saying, "Hey, the DNAgents, they're onto us. We got to do something before my daughter gets killed. They may not be able to save her in time. So let's just give them the ransom." Right. So then they decide let's just give them the ransom.
Right, but then he mentions this thing he's got here, this Data Star cartridge, right?
Yeah, well, that's what the ransom's on. That's the thing they're trying to get. It's the technology. It's easily authenticated and possible to copy. Right. It's the only copy.
And he's like, "I'd give 1,000 of them away to save Angela's life." That's his daughter, right?
Yeah, but the other scientist lady, she's like, "Hey, wait a minute, what's up with this guy? Since when does he ever care about his family?"
Right.
It's weird.
Something's up. Their spider sense is going off. So then we cut back to the DNAgents, and they've got their bad guy, right? And then
they're trying to interrogate him, find out where the daughter is.
And so Rainbow uses her power to create an illusion of like, it looks like, I don't know, like giant worms or something. But it kind of to scare the crap out of this guy. And so he supposedly gets so scared that he's like, she's in a cabin north of El Cruz de Carreteras. And they're like, well, Amber's like, but so barbaric. This poor man, this hardly seems human. And then, what's his name? Surge reminds us they're not human. And neither are we, right? He's like, it isn't, and neither are we. But we're a whole lot better than human, and we've got to remember that. Right?
Hey, Mike, I'm just noticing something here at the art.
That
like they all have belly buttons.
Oh, look at that. Mike Dell, very perceptive. Yeah, good point.
Should they have belly buttons if they're created in it? Yeah.
Good point. Someone didn't think of that, eh? So then they leave the bad guy there, and their idea is that they'll just, the other bad guys will just come and find them. And sure enough, one of them does. And the first guy says to the second guy, he's like, I told him where she was. And the second guy goes, nice going. I hope you didn't make it look too easy. So obviously he purposely gave him the information, right? He knew he was
I'd like to also talk about these two guys, because the one prisoner guy, he's got those like, what are they called? Bandoleros or whatever with the straps with the bullets on them. So he looks like a badass. And then the guy rescuing him, he has a white sweater tied around his neck.
Yeah, he looks like me, like in grade 12, yeah.
He's coming back from tennis at the club.
Right.
Here he is. So that's a little weird. It's an odd choice, but all right.
And then basically, then they who are they? Oh, so then they radio. What's his name? Krell.
Yeah, they're calling back to their headquarters to say, "Hey, mission accomplished."
And
here we find out, it's Krell. It's the guy whose daughter is supposedly kidnapped. He's orchestrating all this.
Right.
So he just sent his guys. And they knew that they were using their technology, the Matrix technology. So he was also saying, oh, my God, someone must have infiltrated us and stolen our technology. So they're making this big thing happen. But actually, he's the one behind it the whole time.
Right.
And he just wanted those guys to go down there and to like delay the DNAgents to make it seem like, oh, no, they're not going to be able to rescue my daughter. We have to give the ransom.
Right. So then we cut over, and I actually love this shot. The DNAgents are flying in this cool ship.
Mike, here's a question I have about this. So they have this cool ship.
Yes.
But earlier, didn't we see them at the airport?
Yeah, that's a good point. So where did the ship come from, and why didn't they use it before?
Yes, why would they have to go to the airport?
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a very
They were at the airport, right?
Yes, they absolutely were, yes.
Okay.
Now, I do have to point out, though, this kind of made me realize, one of the weaknesses of, say, the X-Men or even the Avengers or any one of those teams, whenever they go to a mission, they've always got to get there somehow. So I don't know if you remember the old days of the Justice League, like Superman would be flying and Batman would be like sitting on his back. And like, another character would be flying and like carrying Aquaman. Like, it's so lame. So it's good for them to have a vehicle. But I never liked how the X-Men just had like a regular SR-71 Blackbird.
What are you talking about? Regular SR-71 Blackbird? That was awesome back in the day.
It's okay, but to me, they should have something like this. Something out of this world, right?
This looks crazy. Like, it's kind of it looks like something you build out of Legos.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yes.
It's very blocky and squared off, and it's orange. And,
it looks like a toy because it looks like it can come apart, and there's like a little piece of the back that comes off separately. Like, it's very cool.
Dude, but the SR-71 Blackbird was badass, especially when they started using it. Like, when did they first start using it? Late 70s.
Yeah, I just think that it should have been more unique. Like the way that Batman doesn't drive a Corvette, he drives the Batmobile, right? Like, it should look different, I think.
But again, back then, the Blackbird, that was like a very, I don't know how many people were aware of it or even like,
Yeah, I know what you mean. It wasn't like a household name.
It was a pretty exotic plane. So.
Right.
But anyway, I would rather have that than this Lego monstrosity.
Right.
So they fly down. They go to the hideout where that guy told them where the daughter is being hidden. And they're scouting it out, and they're getting ready to attack. And they're saying, hey, how should we go about doing this? But that Surge, that hothead, he just rushes right in and blows up the wall of the building, and they all just go running in. And then, but there's a guy with a gun right to the daughter's head. He's like, "Come closer, and I'll murder her."
Right. It's very. It's not violent, but it's very. I don't want to say graphic, but it's very. What's the word I'm looking for? Suggestive.
Oh, of him holding because she's in a bikini.
Yeah. Well, it's a little weird. It's also she's kind of like scantily clad. It's a little bit weird, but that's okay.
Yeah, because they abducted her from the beach. So
right. Oh, okay. So then, so this is a very weird scene. So they burst through the wall. Yeah, he's holding the gun to her head, and the first thing they do instead of dealing with him is they start arguing. So in the background, we see the guy holding the gun to the girl's head, and then Amber is like, "Serge, this is your fault. If we had a plan," and he's like, "That's the trouble with you, Amber. You always want to discuss everything. Enough. Leave this to me." So Rainbow steps in. It's almost like trying too hard to be like X-Men or like have all the characters argue, but it just comes off very awkwardly, you know?
Yeah, it was very awkward.
Yes. Yeah. So then Rainbow creates an illusion of like this big monster to scare the bad guy. But then Amber jumps in.
While he's scared, he like puts his hands up like, "Oh my God, this monster."
Right.
Amber flies over, takes the gun out of his hand, and then Rainbow kicks him in the belly.
Now, this is what I didn't realize. I didn't realize there was two bad guys. Because then a different bad guy runs away.
Yeah, he runs out the back door.
But where was he before?
He was never in any...
He wasn't in the room.
Well, if you go back to the first panel where they bust through the wall on the left,
true.
There is a guy there.
Yes, you're right. Okay, he's just like colored the same, so it's hard to see him.
Yeah, he's colored the same as the backgrounds and stuff.
Right, so it's kind of hard to see him, yeah. So he's running to try and get away in this little biplane.
But I like that kick of Rainbow, though. That's a nice kick.
Yeah, it's a good shot. Yeah. It's a little bit, her legs don't look like they're attached, but yeah, it's a good shot. I hear it's a little weird. So then Tank comes and like grabs the plane and stops him, and then drags the second bad guy back into the room. Right.
And this whole time this is all going on, Tank, ever since they were first encountered by those people who attacked them, he sensed something was wrong, and he's still trying to figure it out. He's like, there's something wrong here. I don't like this.
Right, and he sensed that something was up, and then at one point he was about to say it, but he's like, it's just my imagination, and he doesn't tell the other guys. And so anyway, so now he's gone back into, where is it? He's gone back into the room. And so now the girl, this is kind of weird too. The girl who was kidnapped, I guess she starts getting kind of bratty. And she's like, "You idiots, you almost got me killed bursting like that when you had a gun pointed at me." I mean, I can understand her point. Yeah. So what do?
But she's like a rich spoiled kid.
Sure. Yeah. They toss her into a trash can.
Yes.
And then just kind of walk away.
Like butt first, so her legs are sticking out and her head is sticking out as well.
Right. Yeah. It's almost anatomically impossible. But anyway.
So and they just leave, though. Yeah, they just leave.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, 14 hours later, they're back at Matrix headquarters. And Serge is like, "You should have seen us. We were fantastic." And then Amber says, "Is your daughter back yet?" Like, wait, you didn't even...
You're right.
You just left her in a garbage can? You didn't even...
Yeah. Weird. So here's the thing, is in a typical comic, I believe the story would have ended at this point, right? Like, mission accomplished. We're done, right? But then it doesn't. It keeps going. So, well, first we see the payment. Like, the payment has been made, right?
Yeah, Krell, the guy who orchestrated all this, he goes and gives the ransom and gets paid for it. Like they already wired the money to his bank, and he gives him the ransom. And he's like, "All right, I'm out of here." Yeah.
So now we kind of start like the next chapter of the story. It's almost like a new story. And now the DNAgents are enrolled in a university, Beach Grove U, and they're all in like regular street clothes, and they're just kind of walking around, trying to fit in with all the other students. And already, like we can see that people are spying on them, right? Like in the foreground, we see this cool shot of this guy. He looks like almost like a SHIELD agent spying on them. Yeah,
he's not necessarily spying on them. He's trying to get somebody else, I think is revealed at the end. Okay.
And then, what's his name? Tank walks into a room, and this girl kind of like jumps on him and is like, "Oh, for that," she like hugs him, and he's like, "Hey, not that I mind it, but why the warm welcome?" And she's like, "For that final touchdown, silly. You won the game last Sunday." This is kind of funny. And he's like, "But I think you must have me confused with someone else. I'm Tank Fisher." And the girl says, "Oops, sorry, but you look so much like No, come to think of it, he was black. Oh well. What is going on? So then
that girl. I think they're establishing her as a ditzy love interest for Tank because she pops up again later, and she it's a little weird.
Yep.
Doing stupid stuff, but yeah.
So then, and so we see that they've separated. Like the girls are in the women's dorm, the guys are in their dorm, and then we see them. What's it called? So then they're what's Amber? Is this now Amber and what's her name? Rainbow.
Rainbow. Notice Rainbow doesn't have rainbow-colored hair anymore.
That's
it tends
true.
To come and go.
Maybe that's part of her powers. Maybe that's only when her powers are activated. And so then they're like running along, and then one of these students sees them. He's like, "Hey, good looking. What do you say we?"
No. That's Surge.
Surge is hitting on other girls.
Yeah, he's just hitting on a random co-ed.
Right. He's like, "Hey, good looking. What do you say we go do something? We could tie a sweater around the tomb of the unknown preppy." What the fuck? And then then the girl's like, "Sorry, Jack, I never date outside my species." And then then the guy that was watching them from earlier is like, "Never date outside my species." Ha! She doesn't know how close to the truth that is. And then all of a sudden we see, and then he's like, "Let's just see what that creature can do. I'll activate the acid I smeared on that truck's brake line." And again, storytelling, right? Like, what is going on here? Like, of course, you can read it and figure it out, but it's so disjointed, you know? Like, all of a sudden, what's his name? Surge was leaning on that truck, and then it just kind of lunges out of the way. It's just weird, you know?
Yeah, and it's tough to tell he's leaning against the truck. I mean, you can tell if you really look.
Exactly. You have to figure it out, whereas it's not really clear. Yeah, it's awkward.
So the truck's brakes give out, and it goes running down a hill and crashes into a column supporting a building.
Right. And it's like, yes. And then we cut over to Rainbow.
No, first we see Sham.
Yes.
Because Sham is watching TV, and this is the first time we ever get any mention of his power. Because previously, I had no idea what he did.
Wait, so what is his power? What is he doing here?
He's watching changing TV. Shape. Yeah, he's changing into Groucho Marx, Ronald Reagan, and some sci-fi monster as he's watching TV.
Right. And so Rainbow is trying to contact Sham and Tank to come and help, right? So then you
couldn't even really tell Rainbow's in that one panel with him because it's so skinny. But I like how they did the overlay of her on the one with Tank.
That's a cool trick. I like that. Yeah. So then they run over and we see that Surge is holding up this building that where the truck had knocked over the pillar, right?
Yeah, like there's a girder and some other stuff propping it up, but he's trying to, and he's not a big muscle-bound guy, so Tank goes over and holds it up because he's the big, strong guy.
Right, so Tank goes in and holds it up, and then everyone else is freaking out trying to help him. And so what Sham tries to bring over this like I-beam, but then Amber uses her power to kind of like pull it away from him and then use it to help prop up the building. And
are they all really strong? Because how was Sham picking up
That's what I don't get. You'd think that only Tank was the strong guy, but yeah, I guess they all are. I don't know. And so then you see that she kind of, what's her name? Amber uses her powers to kind of like, what's it called?
Like she pushes the I-beam over to with her magnetic powers to wedge it under the building, and then Surge fuses them together.
Well, like welds it, yeah.
Yeah, to like brace the building.
So now it's like holding up the building. And then we see the girl from earlier kind of run up and like grab Tank's ears, you know. And then and then this is the daughter comes back and they see her, and then what's his name? This is Surge, right? He's like, "Oh no, look, about that little incident with the trash can. That was just a joke. You understand that, don't you?"
Yeah, because earlier the one female scientist is on campus with them, telling them what they're doing, and she said that Surge has a security detail that he has to do.
Right.
Like he'll be providing security for someone, and it's the daughter that they rescue from Acapulco. She also goes to this college, so he's like her bodyguard at this college.
Yes, I'm assuming this is setting up the status quo for the series to come, but I haven't read anything, so I don't know.
Yeah. And
then we cut over, and now we see like what's that called? Like the point of view of a like a scope on a gun, looking at Surge and the daughter talking, and we see it's the same guy from earlier. And he's like, "I couldn't get her before she got her bodyguard, but no matter. She's perfectly safe for now." And then it just says, "Continued."
Yeah, so I guess he was there all along to get her, the daughter. But look at that picture though of Surge and her in the scope. Like their faces are fine and everything in the body, except for his right arm. What is going on there? I thought that was a scarf, but that's actually like his right arm. Like the way it's plastered to it, it's very awkward.
Yes. Well, there's a lot of things that are awkward in this. Yeah.
So there it is. That's how DNAgents 1 ends. Man, that's tricky, that title.
Well, also, doesn't it feel like it's like 1.5 issues? It doesn't feel like...
Yes. How many pages was this? Is there a page
This
count,
is awkwardly... It's 28 pages, which is very odd for a comic book. Yeah. Because I believe back then, comics...
Maybe that's why they're charging $1.50. They give you a little more, you know?
Yeah, it could be, yep. Yeah.
But hey, Mike, pan to the next page. There's an ad for Miss Tree. Ms. Tree, you see her? There she is.
You're right.
The art's not looking so good, but there she is. I love her. All right.
Yeah. And also John Law. Will Eisner's John Law.
John Law.
And also we should point out that it technically is like, a comic book was always 32 pages in those days. So it's a regular sized comic. It just has less ads and more story, right?
I thought 22 pages was...
Well, no, that's what I mean. No, but like the actual number of pages was always 32. But the number of story pages was 22, and then 10 pages of ads.
But I don't think they had any ads.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. So they have 28 pages of story, and then you're right. Well, technically, this is an ad.
At the end.
Yeah.
But like Eclipse, they really weren't selling. All their ads were pretty much internal ads for other books,
right?
Because they didn't have many advertisers. I think they eventually did get some advertisers at some point.
Hope so, yeah.
Hey, also, there's a flood at Eclipse in like 1985 or something, and like all the offices went underwater. Do you know what that was?
I think I heard about that. And it destroyed like everything, right?
Yeah, it wiped out all the like back issues and everything that they had. That would suck.
Yeah, it would suck. Yeah.
So, all right, DNAgents issue 1. Let's talk about the writing first. Mark Evanier.
Yep.
I think I liked a lot what he was doing here. I like the basic premise, how these are superheroes designed to serve a corporation and their innocence in the world, and they don't understand that they're being manipulated. I'm guessing that's where this is going, that this corporation, obviously they manipulate them here in the first issue, but I'm guessing it's going to get worse as they go. The corporation lying to them and stuff and making shit happen. So then you also set them up with the college atmosphere, for your big teenage book. You get the teenagers interested in this. Oh, their kids at college. So that's something. So I like the premise. I like the whole evil guy manipulating the kidnapping and all that kind of stuff. That was pretty good. I'm a big fan of Rainbow. I love the Rainbow.
Okay.
Big fan of hers. The rest of the team... I guess they're okay.
Sham is my least favorite for sure.
Yeah, he's annoying.
Yeah.
And I guess later on in the book, like maybe in the teens, the issues, like around 14, 15 somewhere, the corporation tries to make another person, like they made the DNAgents, but they screw it up somehow. So just like this blob with legs and a weird little arm or something pops out. And his name is Snafu, and Sham and Snafu become best buddies.
Okay.
So you usually see Sham with Snafu later on, like they're like joined at the hip. I'm not a fan of the Sham. But Mark Evanier does give him all that internal conflict of him being all shy and awkward, and not fitting in with the team. He's always insecure and everything. So that's his little gimmick. He definitely did. I think he did a good job establishing each character, because you have a sense of who these characters are. Maybe you could say he simplified it a little much, like maybe beat you over the head with it, like with Sham's insecurity and Amber's innocence.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
But at least for a first issue, it establishes everything, gets you in there. So I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty solid for a first issue, setting up a series. Thought it was okay.
Yeah, like the way I see it is, if I would have read this when I was a kid, I probably would have ate it up. I would have loved it,
Yeah, again, 1983. You got to think what's going on there,
Yeah, I would have been like, I probably would have liked this more than most or some Marvel and DC comics that I would have been reading at the time,
Who were the big team books back then? Yeah, X-Men, Avengers, obviously, and then DC had Teen Titans was around.
Teen
then,
Titans,
right?
for sure. Yep. And Legion Superheroes.
No one read that. No one
it was their second most popular book.
I find that hard to believe.
Oh,
that was
absolutely.
more popular than Justice League, Batman, Superman.
Yes. Yes.
Really?
Yep. And that's why in 1985, when they launched the Baxter series, it was Teen Titans, Legion, and Outsiders, because those were the three most popular books.
No.
Yep.
Outsiders was popular.
Batman and the Outsiders. Yep.
Wow. No wonder Frank Miller coming in and revitalizing Batman was a big deal then, huh? Because if Batman's not even one of your top guys, like you're losing out to the Outsiders?
Oh, I'll tell you, yeah, Batman sales were pretty low at that time. They're pretty low.
Yikes. Anyway.
Yep.
But in that era, you can see where this team would be kind of endearing. Like, oh, look at that. There's a team. So, yeah, DNAgents. I don't know. I think Mark Evanier is a solid writer. And, there's definitely stuff could be better. But I enjoy it well enough.
Yeah, I definitely, especially in the context of when it was made, I think it's good. It's solid.
All right, now the art. Meugniot, we've mentioned throughout that it's pretty inconsistent. The anatomy and a lot of stuff looking flat. There's definitely a style you see with a lot of times, Michael, not to sound too harsh, but independent comic book artists are usually independent comic book artists for a reason.
Yes, this is true. Yes.
Because they never really went to art school usually. They didn't learn their craft as well.
Right.
They don't know all about anatomy and dynamic figures and all that kind of shit.
100% true, yep.
So stuff tends to look flat and not dynamic.
Right.
The compositions and the panel designs, like you mentioned, the storytelling was wonky a lot. But I think his art gets better. Like, I did pan through some later issues, and I think you can see his art does improve later on. And there were some panels in here that I really liked. Like I mentioned, especially when he's doing close-ups of some of the ladies' faces, he tends to do a really good job of that.
Right.
But the action sequences aren't always smooth. But, it's independent comic book art is how I would best describe it.
Yeah, it definitely has a charm. And like I said, sometimes it's busy in a good way, and sometimes it's busy in a bad way. But obviously, yeah, he's just starting out, and as time goes by, he obviously gets better, judging by how successful his career was, right? So.
Yeah. He was already doing cartoon stuff before this.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
there
you go.
But so Meugniot and Mark Evanier.
Evanier, yes.
DNA.
Yeah,
will you read more DNAgents?
That if I have free time, I would definitely consider reading more. I'm definitely, especially since there's only 24 issues, and then there's like a volume 2. It'd probably be worth it.
24 in the first one, 17 in the second.
Yeah, I think I'd read more. I think it's a good book for sure.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I don't know if I'd read more.
Okay.
I might. I like Rainbow. I'm a big fan of Rainbow. A big fan. So maybe I'd check out some more. Especially, I want to see how does she get involved in nude modeling. I really want to find out how that happens.
Yeah, you got to find out about that.
So maybe I'll give DNAgents another shot. But I enjoyed it well enough. 1 out of 10, Micah. What do you think?
I will give it a solid 7.
You know what? I think I'll give it a 7 as well. Yeah.
Ooh, look at that. Yeah, definitely good, solid superhero fun for sure.
Yeah.
Fun for the whole family.
So there you go. Eclipse Comics, DNAgents, issue 1, 1983.
All right. Now, let's get back to the mainstream publishers. I know Mike Dell likes Marvel Comics.
I do like Marvel Comics.
Yeah, and I'm always out to please Mike Dell. So next week, we are going to read an appearance of Doctor Strange, but it's not in a Doctor Strange comic. It is in number 3 of the Saga of Crystar, Crystal Warrior.
I've never heard of this. Is this like a Gem World situation?
It's similar. It's similar. You must have heard of Crystar, Crystal Warrior. Come on.
Nope.
Wow. I've got every single issue, the original issues.
What issue are we doing?
We're doing number 3. I just sent you the link.
All right. And this is a 3-issue limited series?
Oh, no. This is an 11-issue limited series. It's actually not even limited. It was just canceled.
Yeah, I don't know what this is about. Is this like, you said Doctor Strange is there, so it has to be a Marvel
It's in
universe
the Marvel
situation.
universe, but it's in like another dimension or another world, like where everyone's made out of crystal. It's really cool. And if you flip through some of the issues, some of the covers are by Michael Golden, and I was tempted to pick one of those issues, but this one has Doctor Strange, and he's got his movie out, so I figured we'll read this one instead.
Who are the creators?
Bill Mantlo.
Oh, Bill Mantlo. Yeah, we've done a lot of Bill Mantlo.
Yes, one of your favorites. And Ron Frenz.
Ron Frenz.
From Spider-Man, Thor, and all that stuff.
Michael, there's another DNAgents thing I wanted to mention. I forgot. With Teen Titans, apparently there was like a accidental crossover kind of between Teen Titans and DNAgents.
I was going to mention this. Yes,
there is an issue of DNAgents where Mark Evanier created a team of superheroes that encounter the DNAgents, and he based them all on the Teen Titans, like versions of the Teen Titans. And then, like around that same time, DC and Teen Titans did like their own version of DNA agents.
Yes.
But what do they call them?
I have it right here. Oh, I had it open. The Recombatants.
I think that's right. Yeah, the Recombatants.
Yes, the Recombatants. Yeah, and the issue they appear in is actually penciled by Steve the Dude Rude, one of my favorite artists.
Really? Because I've heard something else about Steve Rude today when I was reading that. Someone else really liked him, and I can't think of one thing I've ever read with Steve Rude as the artist. Like, what did he do?
Well, he's okay. I'm trying to think of. Well, he's most famous for. Oh my gosh, what is it called? It's a comic. It's an independent comic. Of course, I can't think of what it's called. Steve Rude Comics. Basically. So Nexus. That's what it is.
Nexus.
He did a really long series in the 80s called Nexus. It's an independently owned superhero book. But he's basically known as kind of a retro Kirby-esque type artist. And he's been around forever. He's done like Thor, Captain America, Commandy, World's Finest. But the thing is as far as I know, he's never done a monthly book because it takes him so long to draw. But his art...
What in the blue hell is Commandy?
Commandy, the last boy on Earth. Come on. DC. Created by Jack Kirby. If you just Google Steve Rude, his stuff, I think it'll blow your mind. It's really good. Really good.
He's no relation to Rick Rude.
No relation to Rick Rude.
No relation to Bobby Rude either, right?
Who's that?
One. The glorious one, Robert Rude.
No, I don't know him.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
But yeah, Rick Rude's great. Anyway, so yeah, I'm actually tempted to read that unofficial crossover.
Yeah, we could do a Nexus issue here on the show, maybe.
Yeah, we could, yeah. Good stuff, yep.
Yeah. All right, next week we're doing some crystal meth thing.
That's right. The Saga of Crystar Crystal Warrior, number 3. And I've been waiting to do this for a long time, so I'm super excited. So there you go. Every week on Flea Market Fantasy, we review a different Bronze Age comic book. 1 week I pick, 1 week Mike Dell picks. You can find every episode of our show on www.comicbooksyndicate.com. And be sure to join us every week. And until next Tuesday, disperse!